All right. Hey, what's up? Hello, this is Auntie Cubana coming back at you with another episode of the Unladylike Lounge podcast. And today I am joined by Roberta. Roberta, how are you today?
Hi, thank you so much for having me here. I'm great. How's
Awesome. I'm so glad to hear it. And thank you for joining us, of course. And why don't you take a second, brag on yourself a little bit, and tell us kind of what we'll be talking about today?
all right? The story goes I started being a professional athlete. I used to dedicate my life to training in field hockey in my country. I was born in Argentina.
Wow.
And after that, I went through very difficult times when I decided to quit my athlete career. And then I decided to study graphic design at a university in Argentina. Then I moved to New York City, where I studied a master's in design and urban ecologies.
Oh, wow.
And after finishing my master's, I decided that I wanted to pursue my passion, which is working with people. And I decided to become a health coach. And that's
Wow.
what I do right now in my life. It's my job, working with people, helping people overcome whatever they need to overcome, making lifestyle changes for their well-being regarding habits mostly, also related to eating habits. If you want, I can go into detail in any of in these phases.
Awesome. Good. Well, I can't wait to jump into it and hear more about what you've experienced, what you've gone through, and what makes you an expert in your current position. You said that you practice or that you not practiced, hello, but that you were a professional field hockey player. How was that and how did you get into that as an interest?
First of all, since I was at a very young age, I was always motivated to do things with my body. Like I really found it very easily to
Okay.
connect with my body, even how I felt my emotions. Like I never felt my emotions in my head. I was like, I'm feeling sad, but like I felt it in my chest, in my stomach, very physical. Even like my emotions manifested like physically, in my skin. I had like headaches or whatever. That's how I operated. So I had like, I had, it was very easy for me to express myself in different sports. I also did dance. I played tennis. I literally did like all the sports you can imagine. My parents always like incentivized me to do whatever sport I wanted. And suddenly I discovered field hockey in a club in Argentina that I was going since very young. And I never knew that I was gonna like become what I became. And I never knew that I was gonna pursue that. But it just happened as I started training, I became good, I started becoming better and better. And there was a time when I started like advancing in the levels, you know what I mean? And when I was more or less 16, 17 years old, I was called to train with the national team, and then it all started. I just like was part of the team. I started traveling all over. But as you can imagine, all these things at a very young age, they bring many different problems as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because I was like a teenage girl, surrounded by girls that were like double my age every day.
My
I did.
goodness.
I didn't go to high school. I was training like morning and afternoon.
Oh,
So at the same time, it was like the most extreme sensations you can imagine of success and literally like dopamine next level. Imagine going
yes.
into a stadium full of people shouting, then it's like it's very difficult after that to be able to go back to like the normal culture, normal society, and try to fit in.
Yes.
So basically, I played until I was 20, 21 years old. And then I decided, sports are not it's not something that you can do all your life, because it comes to a point where your body cannot take it anymore. And I
Right.
was like, what am I going to do when I'm 30, 35, 40 years old? I said, I need to focus on something else. I need to study. I need to pursue an education to be able to, develop a new skill. So I decided to study graphic design, as I always liked being creative, and those kind of things. But when I decided to quit, imagine having experienced such a, like an extreme amount of success in what you do, that I, like, when I quit it, I was completely lost. Even my identity, I was like, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. I felt literally like in the corner of an abyss, about to jump to nowhere. I
Oh,
felt I was in a black hole, in a void, completely empty. And that's where I started channeling all my energy into in the incorrect way, So basically, when I was putting all my energy into a sport, I started putting all my energy into partying, into filling the void with food. All the bad habits, came. I was feeling like attacked, but in reality, it was me. It's very hard to accept that you are becoming something you didn't even know.
yes. It's kind of like, when you've reached that level of success, it almost becomes your identity. And when you no longer have that, it's like, okay, where do I turn to next? Even if you have like a plan, as you said, you went into graphic design. It's just, you did it from a young age into your adult years. It's like, who am I now?
Exactly.
Did you feel forced to grow up at an early age because of this level of success, and then the older people around you?
Yeah, I felt I had to. Exactly. I felt I missed basically my teenage years because I was living as if I was 30. I couldn't even go out with my friends. I missed so many different experiences that my friends were having, but I just couldn't because I had to focus on training every day. If you
Yeah,
want to become the best at something, it's literally how they say it. You have to repeat that thing over and over again every day.
absolutely.
So it was like when that ended, all your life revolves around something, and you're in this like highly competitive environment that then is very difficult to cope with your emotions in the normal life. You know what I mean? So I
Absolutely.
started having like all these self-destructive behaviors because in reality, like, I couldn't tolerate the normal life. And this pain manifests differently in different people. Some people
Yes.
like can't get out of bed, and there's other people that just go out and avoid and try to numb every feeling.
Yes.
And that was me. I was carrying all the things, like all the pain and all the emotions, by like filling myself up.
Gotcha. Just kind of filling the void with anything that was going to take that sense of pain, of
Yeah.
un the unknown, realistically. Just anything to kind of cover that with essentially a band-aid.
Exactly. And even like you said, this thing of this very important concept about identity, your identity revolves around something. And then when you don't have that any longer, you don't know who you are. And it's like, why are, like, I use the word normal a lot. And I was like, how do I go back to normal life? But in reality, what is normal life? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Each one has their own life, and each one has to build the life that they want. But I
Mhm.
didn't know that. So it's basically you trying to fit into a world that you don't know even how to. And me personally, I'm this person where I'm like this extreme sensation seeker, that I
Okay.
need extreme sensations to feel alive. The
Yes.
problem is when you're looking for these extreme sensations in the wrong places. So I was looking for dopamine, like food, in sex, in substances, alcohol, even socializing with my friends. And that ended up in me having different kind of problems, like eating disorders.
Oh,
I was even like I was addict to being a rebel, to
yeah.
sugar, anything that would spike my level of dopamine in my head and would make me feel a certain kind of way.
And that's always difficult. Just, I can't speak for everybody. I can only speak for myself as someone who's clearly gone through the different addictions of sex, food, drugs, alcohol, all the things. It's like, those are great for the moment, but then eventually it comes crashing down as soon as that dopamine level comes back, and it comes back down, and then you're left with that emptiness again, and you just kind of keep chasing that next rush, that next thrill, that next high.
Exactly.
It's almost impossible to keep up at that point. How did you cope with that?
Well, I was basically trapped in a cycle of symptoms constantly that I couldn't get out. And I was so numb that I didn't even realize that I was trapped in this cycle of symptoms. So I had to like literally relearn how to function again in the society. Like first registering and detecting my feelings, communicating with that, like caring about myself and the people around me. There's a point that you reach that you're so numb that you even forget how to love yourself, and therefore you're unable to love other people.
Exactly.
It's a very dark place, but I also always say that, without dark, you'd never see the stars. Without darkness, there's no light. So
Exactly.
sometimes, and I speak for myself, I feel I had to go through all this darkness to be able to reflourish and grow into another person, but it's me, it's the same person, but in the light.
Exactly, for sure. And what kind of was your rock bottom, or your breaking point where you realized I can't do this anymore. I can't indulge in these risky behaviors.
In reality, it was like a chain of events, a chain of events of me being a rebel, crashing cars, going out. It was literally like a movie. But the specific event that happened was that a friend of mine, she saw my phone, so she could read some of my messages saying some of these things that were happening. And she went to my dad and my mom and my parents, and thank her. I love her. She's my best friend now. And thanks to her, she saved me because, they were the ones that could intervene and basically make me realize, accept, and start the healing path.
Yes, that's one thing I feel that a lot of people who have gone through that, similar darkness and trying to fulfill those empty spaces within themselves can really relate to. There's somebody that's almost like the whistleblower on the situation. And
Yeah.
in the moment, it's, at least for me, it was easy to be angry with this person. It was easy to be upset, kind of like, how could you sell me out? How could you tell on me? But looking in hindsight, as you said, now she's your best friend. It's like, thank you, because if it weren't for that, who knows where you would have been, or what could have happened in any event.
Yeah, exactly. And like when somebody's in pain, the easiest way to deal with it is blaming others. So
Yeah.
also like a sign of growing up is taking charge and taking the blame, not putting it in something external. So I was blaming even my parents for everything. I lived in anger towards them, and anger is a toxic that burns inside our bodies. So relearning the relationship with myself was like the first step, and how to detect my emotions, because it comes to this point where you're so numb, like I said, that you are even unable to detect your own emotions.
Yes.
So first I started doing therapy, and then it wasn't until I discovered coaching that I was able to like fully change, in the sense that I acquired new tools to manage myself, my emotions, physically, emotionally, spiritually, through life. So what I always say is that, everyone tells you you need to find your purpose, you need to find a sense, but in reality, you need to create it. You need to create and build whatever purpose you want or what life you want to live. It's not
Absolutely.
about finding anything.
Absolutely. In my opinion, there's no one direction made for you. It can really, your life can really be whatever it is that you make of it. You have the obligation to play the heck out of the hand that you're dealt. And it really is up to you to kind of create and build this life, this existence, this reality to be what you want it to be. So I love that you mentioned that. When you said, one thing that really struck me about what you said was how you were angry with your parents. I went through that as well. I found that I took my anger and my hurt out on the people closest to me, almost because I knew that they were going to love me unconditionally. So it was my safe space. Not that they deserved that anger and that toxicity that I was projecting onto them, but more so just the fact that I felt safe. I knew that no matter what I said, what I did, they were still going to love me. Is that something that you found as far as that relationship with your parents, that they were kind of a safe space and had that unconditional love for you to almost break down and put the pieces back together as you healed?
Yes. And also, a crucial point in this is that when we humans feel like a really deep pain that in something that we did, first of all, we need to accept, like, first of all, we need to develop self-awareness to be able to be able to detect whatever is happening to us inside.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to accept this that is happening. And when I was younger, and maybe this is something related to maturity, like a person who is immature is unable to take charge and accept all the bad things or all the mistakes that person has done, because it's very difficult.
Yes.
We need to go into this like vulnerable place that nobody likes going there.
Mm-hmm.
When we are vulnerable, we feel like, I don't know why in the society that we live, we relate vulnerability with weakness.
Yes.
And in reality, being vulnerable and being able to accept a mistake is the most powerful thing we can do. And so when we are immature, we are unable to realize this. So the easiest way to deal and cope with this is getting angry at our parents, because they are our parents and they are unconditional, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the easiest way out. And so that's the first reaction that we humans have. But thanks to, therapy or whatever personal work you can do, even by yourself, we change this and put the scope in us.
Yes, absolutely. And if you don't mind sharing, of course, you absolutely don't have to. What you mentioned that you sought out therapy, things of that nature. What kind of tools did you find? And again, everything works differently for everybody, but what tools did you find that worked best for you in your healing process?
Well, first of all, I think therapy is the key, just because therapy allows you to go back, and it's like you're a detective of your own self. We are such complex beings. Even our brain functions in a way that it doesn't benefit us many times.
Mm-hmm.
So I think therapy is crucial into going deep into yourself and grabbing like the magnifying glass and started looking at everything, every behavior, every feeling, physically, emotionally,
Yes.
mentally. So that's the first step, being able to grab the magnifying glass and look at yourself, every corner. The better you know yourself, the better you're going to be able to relate to others, and the better you're going to be able to heal. So that's the first step, and that's why I love therapy, because it makes you see yourself better, and therefore you can see the world better. How important it is for us to see, because it's like, imagine, not being able to see with your eyes. Not going to therapy is walking life blind, even though if you have eyes and you can see physically.
Yes. And one thing that I mean, again, not everything works for everybody, but I firmly believe that even people who don't necessarily have these patterns of certain behaviors or certain, you know, risky behavior types could benefit from therapy, as you said, getting out that magnifying glass and really taking a look at and learning themselves from the inside out. I feel like it can really help elevate people mentally, emotionally, even physically, once they kind of break through these barriers that we've all created for ourselves at one point or another.
Yeah.
What where can my audience find more of you and your work and kind of keep up with your journey?
Of course. Well, my website is ftvhealthcoach.com, and you can find all my programs. You can send me a message through my website as well. I also have a podcast called Fill the Void on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all the podcasting platforms. And also my Instagram, it's called fillthevoid.club. Anyone can message me at any time. And my programs mainly focus on habits transformation, because, habits is the way our brain communicates with ourselves. It's how the brain speaks. It's in our habits.
Mhm.
So, for me, I'm still working on my habits. Like, it's a constant work all your life and day by day. But I even detect myself, when I'm feeling a little down, a little anxious because whatever thing I have tomorrow that's going to get me anxious or stressed, I start I start going back to these habits that I have, that I know them thanks to the work that I have done of analyzing myself. It's like being a scientist,
It really is.
yeah. So I know myself, and I am able to see it, like dissociate it from myself, what I'm doing, and therefore you're able to stop it, And these behaviors are like chains that hold us back, that hold us back to evolving as a human being, because it's where we feel safe. But in reality, it's where our brain thinks we feel safe, because we've been operating like that for years. So it's very difficult to develop a new habit, in the sense that, our brain works like this habit that's been smoking cigarettes has released my stress for years. So the neurons know that when I smoke, I'm relaxed. And that's the highway that the neuron goes from one place to the other. And you're safe when you're smoking, you're relaxed. So not smoking will make the neurons go in a new path that is not that highway that it has been going backwards and forwards all life. It's a new road that's like full of rocks and dirt and sticks. So that's what we have to train. So mainly my focus on my work is on habits, like on every quit quest that we want to encounter: quitting alcohol, quitting cigarettes, quitting sugar, quitting caffeine. I used to be an addict, and I had literally compulsive behavior with filling myself with sugar and caffeine.
Okay.
And that has a really, really big impact on our brains.
Yes.
Because it's like sugar is more addictive than cocaine. So eating sugar is like doing a bump of coke. And that means, we have highs in our brain chemistry, and those highs create a lot of instability, and therefore we are unable to make good choices at the time in the time when we have to choose what to eat, what to ingest. We need to be very stable. And to be able to stabilize our brain chemistry, it's all in the food that we take in.
Absolutely.
Or the drinks.
Yes. Really anything that we put into our bodies, anything that's a foreign substance that we're putting into our bodies has the ability to throw everything off as far as the brain goes. And we're not, for lack of a better phrase coming to my mind right now, but that's what causes the imbalances, and that's what kind of makes us unstable to a point where we're not regulating ourselves. We're not in control anymore.
Exactly. And the thing with this is that to be able to change one of these habits that we have been doing for so long, it's very difficult to do it by ourselves. So sometimes having an accountability coach or a person that can guide you through that process, and facilitate this, it's great. And that is my job. And because of my experience, I'm able to guide and, help anyone in this type of quests. Also, a very important concept is that in our society, we often normalize a lot of substances, but in reality, silently, they're polluting our brains.
Yes.
And these are 5 substances. One is cannabis, another one is alcohol, sugar, caffeine, and the 5th one is nicotine.
Yes. And society really has normalized them all. And at the end, they're all mind-altering substances. And people don't realize, even people who are, say, anti-cannabis or anti-alcohol, things of that nature, they'll say, oh, those are mind-altering substances, but they fail to realize that, as you said, caffeine, sugar, these other items are doing just the same in a different way.
But the thing is, it's not that you have to cut everything cold turkey and say I don't have to do anything anymore in my life, because that's also unreal. That's going from one extreme to the other. That's why I was saying, and it's very important to be able to have clarity in our mind, to be able to choose wisely when, where, when, why, and detect why is it that I'm wanting to smoke now. That's the key here.
Yes, absolutely. Any final words for our audience members? Any tips, advice, guidance, wisdom, whatever you have for us?
Well, what I want to say is no matter where you are in the path in this life, good, bad, worse, in the darkness, in the hole, in the void, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. That's what I always say. No matter, sometimes we find ourselves in these places that we say, there's no way to fix this, I'm done. But there's always a way to fix anything, everything. There's always a solution. The only thing that doesn't have a solution is death.
Yes.
So keep it up and don't compare yourself with anyone. Social media is toxic. Use it wisely, because with all this connectivity and globalization that we experience in the world today, it's really good, but at the same time, it's very unhealthy. So we have to be mindful and focus on your path. We're not in a race. Don't think about what's at the top of the ladder. Just think about building and refining the ladder so you're enjoying when going up and using it.
I love that. I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for joining us, Roberta. To our audience members, our ladies, gentlemen, and unladies alike, you already know what it is. I love y'all fiercely. Oh, side note, quick, I forgot. There goes my brain again. I will make sure to link all of Roberta's socials and her website and everything in the description box below, so that way anybody can get in touch and follow along with her journey.
Thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you.
Thank you.